Hi everyone. Getting over COVID still. Really fun time. If you followed my reading journey of Sanderson this year, you know that I did not love Way of Kings. So let's see how this goes. So I read the prologue, which took me way longer than it should have because I'm sick. But I like this prologue way more than I liked the two prologues for Way of Kings. I know her name's Yasna, but I read it as Jasna. So if I interchange the names, it's the same person. But I like that we're starting with Yasna. I wish that Yasna had more POVs. I don't know if I'm over the fact that we're reliving this event again. I know that there's a big mystery around why her father was killed by the Parshendi. Did the Parshendi actually kill him? So we're definitely diving back into that mystery. But I feel like the quality of writing is already better in this first chapter than it was for most of Way of Kings. And don't get me wrong, like, I really love Brandon Sanderson. I've read 14 Sanderson books since December of 2022. It's now October of 2023. I'm making my way through the Cosmere quite rapidly, but I feel like some books definitely emphasize the fact that he's a better writer in those books. And I felt that more with Era 2 of Mistborn. I felt like his writing was better. I felt like with the Secret Projects, specifically Tress and Yumi, that he was a better writer for the most part. And I feel like that's coming through with the beginning of Words of Radiance. So I'm genuinely excited to keep reading, which is something that I'm surprised by because I was really not looking forward to getting back into the Stormlight Archive, but I'm hoping I will be pleasantly surprised. Okay, so I am about 65 pages in, maybe 70 pages in. I ended up downloading the ebook just because that way it's easier for me to read it in bed and not have to hold this, 1,000-page monster book. So far, I am liking this so much more than Way of Kings, and I'm not sure why that is yet. A good part is because Shallan's chapters have mostly been with Yasna, and Yasna, I think, is a great character. So that's made her much more tolerable for me because Shallan was probably my biggest issue with Way of Kings. And I'm interested in what they are discussing with the Spren and the Radiance. I've had one Kaladin chapter so far, and it was fine. Bridge 4, so that was fine. And I'm now on my first Dalinar chapter. So I feel like I'm starting to get into a little bit of the story. It's interesting because we are very much picking up from book 1, which I read like 7 months ago. So I am finding that there's a few things that I haven't fully remembered, but the more that I'm reading, it's coming back to me. But I am really interested in Dalinar's visions more so than I was when I was reading Way of Kings. I'm interested in what's going on with the Spren, and we're now starting to talk about orders. So it's getting interesting, and I'm excited to keep reading. Okay, so I am 150 pages in, and so far, super enjoying it. I don't know why this book is so much better than Way of Kings, but I'm actually excited to read Shallan chapters, which is shocking. So far, I'm really interested in Pattern. The fact that he's a lie spread, I think, is really interesting. The whole incident on the boat with Yasna, didn't see that coming. So yeah, lots of things are happening. Dalinar's storyline is probably the least interesting to me at this point because I don't love the way that Sanderson typically writes fight scenes and stuff. And there was a lot of that in Way of Kings with Dalinar and, the High Princes and all that kind of stuff. So finding that a little bit slow right now, but still super enjoying everything so far. So I finished part 1 and Amaram showing up, didn't expect, loved it. I think it's going in a really interesting direction. Honestly, like, I'm so into this book. And then I started the interlude chapters, and we're getting Eshanai, is that how you say her name? Her perspective from her. I'm just like blown away, honestly. This has been so much better than Way of Kings, and I don't know why. But I love that you're getting a Parshendi perspective. I think it's so interesting, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Hi, everybody. So I am now about 500 pages into Words of Radiance, and I'm loving it. Like, I'm actually obsessed. I basically haven't hung out with my husband in a few days just because every free minute I get, I want to sit down and read this book. And some standout things so far. Shallon's chapters have been much more tolerable than Way of Kings. I feel like Sanderson got a better handle on Shallon in this book, but I know that Words of Radiance is most people's favorite book of Stormlight Archive. So I am curious to see if it kind of reverts back to annoying Shallon going forward. Also, because of what I've read in the Cosmere so far, it's super interesting to know that Kelsier is the one behind the Ghost Bloods, and now that Shallon's kind of getting involved in that whole thing. So that definitely is really interesting. There's just so much going on. I think so far of all the main plot lines that Adeline's is probably the one I'm least interested in. But that's not too different from Way of Kings for me. I didn't love Adeline or Adolin, however you want to say his name, but I like him better than I did in the first book. I like a lot of the secondary characters that we're meeting in this book, like Zahil. I think he is a really interesting character. I love that Bridge 4 has semi-adopted Renarin. I think that that's kind of cool. And I'm just loving what's going on with this story. Honestly, like, I don't think there's been a singular chapter other than an interlude chapter where I've been maybe a little bit bored. And also we see that now Eshanai has transformed into this new form of the Parshendi and hates it and is basically stuck in that body, the storm form. So that's really interesting. I'm curious to see where that goes. I'm wondering if at some point in this book that Adeline and Sadeas are going to have a duel between them. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with Amaram and Kaladin. I am interested for more visions with Dalinar because we haven't had any in a while. But also I'm super interested in Pattern. I think Pattern is a really neat addition to the story. Also the lies aspect of being a lie sprint I think is super fascinating. So all in all, this book for me thus far has been a 5 out of 5. I'm curious if it's going to end that way because a lot of the time I don't love Sanderson endings. I don't love the Sanderlanche that a lot of people seem to really get behind. So I am curious to see where I fall at the end of this. I'm thinking I've probably got about 4 days left of reading, maybe, if I keep at the pace that I've been at, in addition to trying to get some work done. I'm starting to finally feel like human again from COVID. It's no joke. It's been like 2 weeks of feeling really crummy. So definitely recommend that everyone stay safe this fall and winter season. But yeah, I am excited. I've basically exclusively switched to reading it in the ebook format just because it's so much easier to have my laptop just sit on my lap rather than hold that monstrous book. But yeah, I am really excited. So I'm basically halfway done and I'm eager to keep going. Hi guys. Okay, so I finished part 3 and whoa, okay, so much stuff. The building of the relationship with Shallon and Adeline, really like it. I'm surprised that I like it as much as I do, because I normally and notoriously don't like romance and stuff, but I do like the way that he's playing them off of each other. I think that that's been done pretty well. I have been enjoying I've just enjoyed the whole thing. Like, honestly, there really hasn't been a part that I haven't super enjoyed. I guess if I had to pick a part that I enjoy the least, right now it's probably Shallon with the Ghost Bloods. And that's really been very minimal. So I don't even know if that would count. But the duel, okay. The duel was so fun to read. What a great scene. Everything coming together. The build up to it was excellent. They really did a good job making you think that it was just gonna be two fighters, and was super surprised when it was four, which was nice. I find that I'm not often caught off guard with Sanderson stuff, so that was really great. The fact that Amaran's shard plate or his sword belonged to Shallon's brother, great connection. Honestly, it's just been so good. The one thing I'll say is that it's, I guess I don't dislike it a ton, right? But I really wanted that Fallout duel to happen. I wanted the duel between Adeline and Steaus, and I wanted between Kaladin and Amaran. Uh, but I know that they're villains and we need to carry them through for a while. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. But still, super enjoyable. Loved it. I am excited to keep reading. I am on page 681, I want to say. So it's coming along. I got a good little chunk done today. I am at the interludes now between books 3 and 4, or parts 3 and 4, and I'm gonna meet Lift. It seems like there's one with Zeth and a third one, I believe, and then we start part 4. Okay, so I've come across my first negative of the book, and it's Lift. I do not like Lift. She's the young female Wayne, who I also did not like. I see that Edge Dancer is based on Lift, based on the fact that they're calling her Edge Dancer here. Not super into it. So I'm hoping to get back to regular content in this book, but this Lift chapter just goes on forever. Also, I realized that the person that I've been being called Sadius is what other people are apparently calling him, and that seems to be the correct way. Sadius, it's the same person. Okay, the Live chapter got better by the end, but still, she's not my favorite. Hello, I'm done part 4, and it was great. Honestly, the weakest parts of this book for me have been the interludes. So in these interludes, I'm just looking at my computer now. I've got Lon, Eshonai, and Teravagian. Is that how you say his name? Teravagian. Yeah, I think that's how you say his name. And then we're getting into that like typical Sanderland territory, I feel like. So I'm hoping that this sticks the landing. I'm really hoping it sticks the landing. I know that most people love Sanderson's landings, endings, whatever. I had actually talked to Read by Kyle about this not that long ago, and he was laughing at me based on the fact that I don't love a lot of the Sanderson endings. But this whole book has been so good, really, other than the chapter with Lift. And even then, it got better by the end. I don't like Lift, but the people around her were really interesting, and the plot that was developing was really interesting. So I'm super excited. The plot that took place during the chasm was super fascinating. The fact that Shallon basically revealed to Kaladin that she can summon a shard blade. Loved it. I'm really liking the developing relationship between Adolin and Kaladin. I love that he imprisoned himself for Kaladin. Moash is obviously becoming a high flight risk, so that was really interesting. The disappearance of Syl, who I assume will be coming back. It's so good. The whole story is so good, and I'm having a really hard time pausing myself to do these little clips because I just want to keep reading. But so far, I would say that I've genuinely really liked Shall in this book. I'm less interested in her stories as Vale, but now we're kind of getting into the Shattered Plains and Urithiru. I don't know how you say that word. I have to look at it, but I'm super interested in that. I assume that Yasna is going to come back based on the fact that I assume it's her on the cover of Oathbringer. So that's not as dramatic as it probably would have been had I been reading this a few years ago. But I like that we're getting a bit more of Dalinar, the fact that people are starting to listen to Shallan, which I never thought I would say. The fact that Shallan killed her father, totally here for it. Guy was a D-bag. So, yep, happy that he's dead. Never thought that I would feel bad for Shallan, and Sanderson has found a way to prove me wrong in this book, because there have been several times where I have felt absolutely terrible in her reflections. And yeah, I'm super geared to keep going, so I'm going to turn this off and keep reading. Good morning. I finished the book, and it was great. So I can't remember where I left off with my reviews, but the ending had so many big things, right? So there was the build-up with the Moash storyline. There was obviously, is Kaladin going to fully become a Radiant? I assumed Syl was going to come back at some point. There was the Parshendi. There was finding Urithiru. There were just so many things that were going on. And I felt like overall it was handled in a really good way. I've been critical of Sanderson in the past with how he ends things. Excuse me, I'm grabbing my breakfast. And I felt like he actually did a very solid job in this one with how he ended it. And some of the key things that stood out for me were, obviously we have the return of Szeth, which was kind of anticipated. And I don't know if I liked the dialogue from Szeth, because I feel like it's confusing. It's not, I feel like, it just is confusing at times. So I don't quite fully understand his background. I feel like maybe we'll get more of that going forward. I wish we maybe had more of him in the interludes rather than Lift. Lift for me was definitely the low of the book. You might say that she didn't lift me up. I really actually liked the battle sequence at the end. The one thing that was a bit plot armory, but I kind of anticipated it happening, was Kaladin making his way from where he was off to the fight. And that seemed a little excessive, but you kind of knew it was coming because Sanderson was kind of building up to that basically with everything that had taken place in the book. So I wasn't super mad about it, but it did feel a little plot armory. The sacrifices of some of the people in the end, I really thought that was excellent. The discovery of Urithiru was interesting. I liked that Shallan revealed herself to Dalinar. I liked that Kaladin is fully revealed now, do the light eyes now. So it's going to be interesting to see how he copes with that transition going forward. On top of that, the very, very ending. I loved that Adolin killed Sadeas. I loved it, lived for it. Happy that that guy's dead, because screw that guy. I am happy that Yasna's back. I assumed that she would be based on the cover of Oathbringer, so I'm curious to read more about it now. All in all, I super enjoyed this book. I am debating jumping right in to Oathbringer, which I feel like I'll probably do some kind of cleanser thing in between them. I have a manga and I've never read manga before, so I'm gonna try to do that. But all in all, just like, such a good book, such an improvement on Way of Kings. I have probably more thoughts that will formulate over the next few days because I just finished it a few hours ago. And all in all, just a very impressive work by Sanderson. I feel like he really found his voice by the time that he was writing this one. I know that a lot of people say that Words of Radiance is their favorite, so I am a little skeptical to go forward in that. I'm fearful that Oathbringer and Rhythm of War might return to that Way of Kings status for me, where it's a bit more long feeling. Despite this being a 1,000-page plus book, the book never felt long for me except for a couple of the interlude chapters. So that I feel is very impressive. But yeah, all in all, super excited. It's my 15th Sanderson book that I've read this year. It's my 15th Cosmere book that I've read this year. So, well, this year for me starts from December 25th of last year. If we're technically going within the 2023 timeline, it's my 14th Sanderson book. So I've only got a few Cosmere reads left, and I'm jazzed. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Words of Radiance. Is it your favorite? Do you like Oathbringer? Do you like Rhythm of War? Don't give away any spoilers. Despite this being a spoiler-filled video, I still want to go into the next two books relatively blind, but hope you enjoyed reading this along with me. If you like these types of videos, let me know down in the comments below. The best way to help support me is to hit like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you next time. Bye.